Hi, it's me again with CorelDraw tips and tricks. Just yesterday, I made a video on this, and I started thinking about some other ways to do it. So I picked a maybe an easier font to do this. What we're doing is we're putting a line, and I thought about it, and I made up a couple of, well, I didn't make them up. I thought of a couple ideas that we could use indexing lines and the nudge factor. So this letter is like a little bit more than a ½ inch long. So let's make our nudge 0.01 and let's just nudge it up and see what it looks like. So maybe let's go 0.02, get it off the base a little bit more. So that's going to be our ending point for our lines on all cases, all the way across the letters. Well, except for the S. S is going to be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a 2-point line, and I'm going to go from the bottom where there's a midpoint, because there's no midpoint. Well, might be a midpoint, but not really, because it's a curve. And I'm going to start moving and hold down the control button. That gives us a perfect line. Now what I'm also going to do, I'm going to try to figure out how to, and see how easy the indexing line will stop the virtual segment delete key. And of course we would want to put one up top, but we're going to put it like right in the middle. So what I kind of thought of for this is get a 2-point line and just start moving, hold down the control button so it's perpendicular. And then take the Smart Fill tool and fill that in, and we're going to change our nudge factor to like 1 inch, and we're going to nudge this out of the way. Now I'm going to left click, right click. I'm not going to change the inside of the item anyway, so I'm going to just delete it. And I'm going to take these two nodes and I'm going to right click and I'm going to break it apart. And then I can delete that line. So we can nudge, I'm going to make it red, and I'm going to nudge it back. Now, with it selected, hold down the shift key and it'll grow from the center way out. And this way you kind of get a look to what it's going to look like. And then we could quite possibly move it over. And if you wanted to be exact, but it's not going to be, you've got to figure out a midpoint, because this distance and this distance isn't the same. So I would just go with your gut feelings. And I mean, you could measure it and get the parallel dimension tool and the whole measurement. So I got on a node, which is pretty much in the center. So it's 0.15. So if that's the case, this should be, we'll get on that node again, 0.7, and if you run out some numbers, 708. So it's really, really close. Now you could get it dead in the middle, but I think that's good enough. And then just take your shape tool and just extend this line holding down the control button. I had them both selected, so it doesn't matter. Then we're just going to delete these lines. Whoop, I needed that line. Delete this line. Now what's kind of the advantage to this is we can take our text, which is still grouped together, and we can move it out of the way. I don't need that line. And then take and select all this line and go up to Object and combine it. It's really group doesn't work in this case. Group would work, but it's not going to work as nice. So we're going to go back to that 1-point line. We're going to make it black. And then we're going to nudge our letter back up. Now, the only thing I forgot to do is take this line, go up to Object, and convert the outline to an object. I covered that in the last video. Take the Smart Fill tool, and there you have the P. Now, I do not like the lines right here where they're not joined. So we're going to fix that. I should have fixed it prior. And if you remember, these are two lines, so we're going to select them both. I'm going to go up to Windows Dockers, join curves, and hit apply. Now it's going to be one line. When I make it that 1 point, the corner will be good. Make it black, go up to object and convert the outline to an object. That's probably one of the key things to do. If you don't, I explained that in the other video, that it's going to not work. Now the A, exactly the same. One thing we can do, we can take a 2-point line and we can go from that node to that node. So we have that angle, and then grab that line and move it to the midpoint. You know, it doesn't look right. I mean, it is right, but it's not right. So then maybe we're going to fix it. Hit the plus key and mirror that. Take this one and move it over to the midpoint. See, we got, you know what? It might be perfect. We're a little bit thicker on the inside than the outside. Then what maybe I would do is keep my A about in the middle. So what we can do is we can take the parallel dimension tool and measure from there to there, and we got 0.13. So now we're going to set our nudge factor on, and if you don't know what the math is, just put 0.13 divided by 2, and you get 0.65. Bring in another indexing line, and then nudge it down. And that's going to be your new center of your line. Take a 2-point line and go from that edge intersection to that intersection. Take these lines and just delete them. Now we're going to move this indexing line out of the way. I'm going to take we need to, and then you would do the exact same thing on here, to put it right in the middle. Let's see what the distance is. 0.11, it might be a little bit more or less. So 11 would be 5.5, 0.055. Bring in an indexing line. I'm not going to move this indexing line because I want to use it for the other thing. And then nudge it down so that's the center. Take a 2-point line and go from the intersection to the intersection. Let's get rid of this indexing line. Let's take our font. Well, we didn't cut out the letters on the bottom. But see, if we keep that indexing line there the whole time, you'll be very, very happy you did. And then grab our font. Well, we need to change the nudge factor back to I think it was just 1 inch. And then take all this, and what I would do is select it all. And even though you can bind it, it's not going to fix those corners, but we'll take a look, see what it looks like. See, it's got those rough corners. Now we can fix that like it is without having to go back to a hairline. Everything else will be okay. Let's turn it black and then move this up and then take the Smart Fill tool. And the other letters really ought to be, okay, sometimes that's going to happen. So you know what? That's a good example. I did not make this an object. And you see what the result was if you don't do that. And sometimes it'll still happen. And all you have to do is put the yellow in the front of the page. Now, the only other thing I might do in this would be to make the bottom of this differently. Make it kind of an angle. That can be done because it's an object. It can be done with the shape tool. We can bring that straight down. Now we'll have to refill with the Smart Fill tool. Matter of fact, we'll just take the Smart Fill away. I need to put an outline on it. Let me back up here. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to nudge that out of the way for a second. And I'm going to go left click, right click. Matter of fact, I'm going to take away the yellow. That's probably the problem. And then you can very easily, now this, I said in the video last night, you couldn't do the whole sentence of this, but you could do one letter. Or I mean one letter, one word. It's not going to hurt you. Because the end result's going to be pretty nice. Just try to stay on that same plane. Now you can do one or two things. You could just take the Smart Fill tool, fill this in, and then take the Smart Fill tool on black and fill that in. And if you look at it on the ones that are angled, I think you'd be a lot happier. T's easy, the N is easy, the H, the E, the R is just like the P, the S. I might make a second video if I figure out a way to make the S easier. That looks pretty good. And then if you put a blue background on it or any color shirt, that's the way it's going to look. We'll turn off our indexing lines. Pretty cool looking font. Hope that helped them a little bit. Thank you for watching.